Hello and welcome everybody to today's Inside Health Apps Thursday Live. I am Denise Armenio and I am a certified emotion code, body code, genius biofeedback practitioner, as well as a certified group energy facilitator. And we are here today talking all things genius and why we love it so much. And in today's Thursday Live, we will be going over a little bit of how the Genius works and how to use it, as well as highlighting, again this week, the custom playlist, how to set it up and use it. And we will also be doing a virtual acupuncture session. If there is someone who has not volunteered before, Nina, I don't know if you would like to be a volunteer. If you would, you would? Okay, great. We can set you up here to be the volunteer for today's session. I'm just going to share my screen. And let me share the sound. Okay, so Nina, if you want to unmic yourself or unmute, I should say.
Yes.
Hello, hello. Let me just put your name in here. Will you spell your last name for me? Are you?
B-E-R-T-I.
Awesome. And your birth date?
Is 5/20/66. And then keep on scrolling.
Perfect. I got it. I got it. Okay. So when we start a session, we want to put someone's full name, legal name in under name, their date of birth. And that kind of works sort of like an IP address would work. And that's how through the quantum field, we can direct all the frequencies to you. When we fill in gender here on the bottom, that is specifically just for the graphics. That really doesn't hold any information for the scan itself. And after you enter all this information, you can just go down to the bottom and select continue with new analysis. And you can then, whoops. Now you have this user records page. This is simply for the user to take notes on whether you're working on a session for yourself, a family member, or a client, just so you know what you're working on and have some kind of record for when you go back. I usually like to put in the date. So I'll put in today's date. And then Nina, if you can, the information, part of the information I like to collect is what's going on with you today. And do you have anything physical or emotional somewhere that we can look for, measurable change so that you can see if there's a change. So do you have any aches, pains, hurts anywhere today?
Yes, I have a pain in my lower right back, or it's hit my hip. So it's my right lower back hip. I woke up with it 2 days ago.
Okay. And so today, on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being severe, how would you rate it?
Now it's probably about a 5. It wasn't like a 10 2 days ago, but
okay. Well, we're going to work with how it feels now. That way you'll be able to gauge how it feels after the session. Anything else? Any other pains?
No, but a lot of times I have digestive imbalances.
Okay.
So that goes in and out, but yeah.
Any today that you can feel bloating?
I maybe a little bloating.
Okay. And so if you were to rate that on a scale of 0 to 10, again, 10 being severe.
It's not too bad today. I don't know. I guess maybe we could say that's about a 5 or a 6.
Okay. So it gets bad for you then, because
yeah, I have digestive issues that go in and out. So,
okay, so we'll put 5.5 since it's between 5 and 6. Anything else? Anything emotional, anxiety, depression, anything like that that you may be
No, uh-uh.
experiencing? Okay, so anything else you want to work on that you can think of?
Weight wise, hormones, balancing the hormones.
Okay, we can look at the hormones as well. So I have all that in. Obviously, there's really no way for you to really rate that. Unless, overall, how are you feeling in this moment on a,
I mean, I
zero?
feel pretty good. I mean, pretty good. So,
Okay, good. Good, good, good. So, I took these little notes. The next time we ran a session, I can come back and I could always put the next date and write the things that we work on. And then there's these areas here that allow us to check off anything in here if we wanted to. I'm just going to select back
oh,
pain just so you can see it, but you could deselect it as well.
I do always have insomnia.
Okay, great. So we can put sleep up there as well.
Uh,
Um,
and you could do weight
I'll
gain
check
too.
off weight gain, memory issues, increased hunger.
Yeah, memory sometimes seems like, wait, what?
Okay, great. I mean, sometimes it's nice to look through here because we don't remember things and sometimes we have things so chronically that they seem like part of our norm. So we don't really think about it unless we see it. So it is nice to, digestive imbalance is right there. So it is nice to kind of check this off. This you can change from week to week or, from session to session if they apply or don't apply. But as of right now, this is, how we
Mm-hmm.
pull it out. And it does not affect the scan at all. This is just information to keep, from one week to the next. So I'm just going to select begin. And this is where we collect your voice imprint. So I will count you down. I'll say 3, 2, 1, begin. And then if you can just say your full name and repeat the vowels A, E, I, O, U until this 15-second counter gets to 0. You
Okay.
ready?
Do I keep saying my name and A-E-I-O-U or just my name and then keep repeating A-E-I-O-U?
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So 3, 2, 1, begin.
Nina Roberti, A-E-I-O-U, 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 A-E-I-O-U.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so you will see down on the bottom, it says voice harmonics. I always recommend and suggest that you play this each and every time. What this does is it plays for you the translation of what you just spoke in and the genius and how it translates it into a frequency. That frequency also has healing benefits for you as like cancels out like. So it does help you to listen to it. So we're just going to play that right now. Okay, so now the next thing is just to point out this button. There is a view all button. If anybody is curious, you're welcome to press it. This is just going to give you a whole lot of these format numbers. There isn't anything that I would see that you would use this for in your scan, but it is there in case anybody is curious. You would then just hit next to bring you onto the next page. Okay, we can select continue. And now, Nina, I am just going to take your screenshot right here. Perfect. And I'm just going to drag it into my photos. And now I can just click on the avatar here, and it gives me the option to take a picture or existing. Since I just took it and added it to my photos, it's existing. And there you are. And I'm just going to select use. And again, we can hit begin analysis. And continue. Okay, so energetic affirmation. Again, I love always filling this in. It is optional, but I do like adding an affirmation here. And just like your voice, when the Genius translates the spoken word into a frequency, the Genius is also able to translate written text into a frequency. So if we add an affirmation that you may be working on for the day, for the week, for the month, whatever your goal may be, you can add it here. The affirmation I like to use is all energies are transmuted into the frequency of your love. And then I just like to add and so it is. Okay, and then we can just hit okay. And what happens is this frequency will be overlaid every time we run frequencies throughout this session. The next thing that you would want to do is select begin analysis. Now for all those that have the basic package or the trial, we'll just see the body, biofield, and mind categories. Custom libraries banner will show up if you've either created libraries or you've purchased libraries. But other than that, the trial version or the basic version, it's all the same. So I'm just going to select begin analysis. Okay, so the first thing that you'll notice is the order in which the Genius lists the category, the 3 categories, and it puts it in the order that it feels you should work on first. So for you, Nina, it's mind, then body, then the biofield. Okay, the next thing that we just want to look at is these little arrows here. Whenever you see that before a line, it's just letting you know that you can click on it and there's more information. It goes a little bit deeper. So for each line, there's 2 ways to view it. You get the same information, just laid out slightly differently. If you click on the arrow, it will show you all the different brain EEGs that we can look into and how in the score or the number that it's been given. It also gives you this little like magnifying glass, which if you select it, gives you a little bit of information on that item. So you can see here, high alpha, that is the relaxed, lucid, calm, not thinking. And it's the high stage of that. So we'll get into what these numbers mean in just a second. The other way you can get that same information is by clicking on the colored line, and it will gives you the same information, just displayed slightly differently. It's displayed by the number range that it's in. So now what do these numbers mean? So the Genius uses a numerical value system. It ranges from 0 to 777. 0 to 200 is represented by the color blue, and that is observed to be chronic energetic disturbances. And those energetic disturbances, when they're chronic, can also be referred to as under energy or stagnant energy. The next range goes from 201 to 450. That's represented by the color green. Then we go from 451 to 599, and that is represented by the color yellow. And lastly, we go from 600 to 777. That is represented by the color red. And items in this range are observed to be acute energetic disturbances, stress that it's happening now. It can also be referred to as over energy, heat, or inflammation. it is important to note that, again, this is stress that is happening now. And occasionally you might find that you don't think that this resonates with you. It could be that you're absorbing frequencies that are around you, people that you're living with, working closely with. If you've been in airports or trains or buses or crowded places, you may absorb some of these frequencies from different people, and perhaps in that exact moment, it hasn't passed or cleared through your energy field yet. Running these frequencies will help clear them. And it's always good, and it's a great to use for maintenance, because we don't want these, we want to clear these energies that are in our field so they don't become chronic. Once they become chronic, they're more apt to affect our physical body. So everything is in our energy field, and if we can clear it before it gets to our physical body where we have symptoms, that would be the goal. So now the next thing that I like to do, a scan. First, we're going to look at the aura so we can get a before aura picture. So I'm just going to scroll down to biofield and select the line for aura. And we can hit begin analysis. Okay, we can hide the avatar to see what's in the center. So what we're looking for basically when we look at the aura are bright, vibrant colors. They are the colors of the chakras. If you're not familiar with them, you can go to the chakras and look at those 7 colors, but those are the main colors that we're looking at. If they are muddy or dirty looking, or just not clear, it's a sign of interference or stagnant energy. We want the colors to be bright and full of light, as opposed to darker and kind of filled with darkness, kind of that light dark type thing. We can also switch to the old view, which is another way to look at the aura. It's also giving us different information, so it is nice to look at both. I'm not going to get into much detail on either of them because it will take us down a rabbit hole and we won't get to the rest of the demo. But again, in this view, you're looking for bright, vibrant colors. Ideally, you'd like to see one bright color. We don't always see that. And the other thing I'd like to stress, especially for those, that are just starting out, you want to see the color filling all 4 corners and spreading out. If it's not in all 4 corners, it's a really good indication that you're not fully grounded or you're not fully in your body. And when we're not present and not fully in our body, that's when we have a tendency to experience, feelings of anxiety or depression or things like that. So being grounded and centered is so important. So this will give you a sense if you're there or not. So looking at this right now coming in, it actually looks like you are getting a little bit more grounded. You may not have been a little bit ago. The energies when you're looking at this screen move from right to left. And that is because it's the mirrored view, but when it's not mirrored, it's technically moving left to right. So anyway, just wanted to explain a little bit of that. And now we can go back to the system overview page. So now, before beginning a session, you might just want to look at today's stress just to get an idea of what might be bothering you a little bit. Remembering that red is what's stressing you now. It doesn't mean that you have an issue with your liver or your kidneys. but they may be stressed for whatever reason. Some people, just if you're doing a detox, maybe the liver is out of balance, or there's different things going on. Environmental, maybe there's some allergens in the air or dust or other things like that. But again, it's what's stressing you now. We can scroll down and look to the bottom, and we see on a more chronic level, maybe there's just some more emotional things that are out of balance for you. Some connective tissue would suggest maybe something physical or muscular aches or things like that. Bacteria, immune acid is more acidic. Your body is more acidic. So I'm not going to add these to the main tray yet to work with them, because the first thing I like to work on whenever I start a session is to first prime the body. And why I do this is to prepare the body and clear as much as I can in the biofield, as well as send in the frequencies of vitamins, amino acids, and minerals, so that the body can be in the best set it up for receiving the other frequencies as best as it can. Because if the biofield is healthy and it has all the necessary minerals, amino acids, and vitamins that it needs, our body can better be in homeostasis, where it can heal itself. So that's where we always like to begin to start to prepare the body. So I like to use a specific library that I have. If you don't have that library, you can, what I would suggest working with is working with all the items in the biofield. And then you can also add in your minerals, vitamins, and amino acids from the body section. So I am just going to take us right now into the custom libraries. And I'm going to show you how to do this first part in two different ways. First, I'm going to show you how to get to the library that I have. And again, it would be a purchased library, but it just shows you how to sort of be a little bit familiar with working with libraries. So here I can hit begin analysis. Okay, so if we click that little arrow down in the center, it brings up a search bar for us. And by clicking on that little magnifying glass, I can select bioterrain. And this is the library that I like to begin working with, the vessel priming frequencies. Now I'm going to drag this. This is a library with about 156 items within it. As a shortcut, we can just drag the whole line and it will automatically add all those items. However, we can go and click on the line itself, and then we can see all the specific frequencies that are in that library. So now, after they've all been added to the main hold tray, in which we can also double check and check on, is by clicking this up arrow right to the left of main hold tray. You can see that it has added all of those items into the tray. And then we can just close that. And now all the way to the right, we can see this little like play button. If we select that, it brings us to Progressive Insights. And all of those same items are listed here. And when we hit begin analysis, what the Genius does is it's added algorithms that doesn't just send the frequency of those specific items, but it also looks at the relationship of these items. So looking at an individual frequency, when it compares it to your energy field and decides if it's in balance or out of balance or where it is on that range, when that item is with other items, it may react differently. So the algorithms will now resort everything in the order on how these items, whether they're imbalanced or not imbalanced, based on the relationship with all of these. Okay, so what I like to do from here is I will select all so that we can work with all these frequencies. Again, we can go down and they're rated from high, medium, and low. There are two ways you can look at the information on this screen. Both ways are correct. It's really just your intention on how you choose to view it. You can look at the highs, mediums, and lows as the priority, or the way I like to look at it most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, is I like to look at the highs kind of like our reds where they're stressed, and our lows sort of like being more chronic. When we're working in the quantum field, our intention is really important. So as long as you're clear on your intention, the genius will be able to work for you in both ways. I just wanted to point that out because sometimes different people use this section in different ways, and neither is wrong. It's just how we use it differently. So I am now going to put the timer on 1 minute, and we can select play. So great. So what Denise is saying, you did excellent here and you responded positively. And if you look on the bottom, it says the average percent rectification is 70%. That's excellent. After I look at the average percent rectification, the next thing I like to look at is the three areas above that, harmony, alignment, and energy flow. Those three areas, the average of those is what gives you the 70%. But I also don't like to see that range widening more than 20%. I just feel it's if it's more than 20%, there's a possibility that you can go out of balance again easier. So if it was above 40%, even though that is a good average percent rectification, if let's say it was 40% range, I would still run it again until that range got closer and the percent rectification was above 40%. I'm just going to go to the top here and rescan. Now, when I hit rescan, it's not the same as backing out and looking at your energy again. What this rescan is doing is basically it's looking at the 70% rectification, which the genius, it's a probability. So the genius is saying the probability is at 70% rectified, but it's not telling you specifically what rectified. When we hit rescan, it's going to reorder all of these items that are in the progressive insights right now, and then reorganize on where it is in the high, medium, and lows. Okay, so now for me, how I like to work with it, I like to select the lows and the highs. So now I'm working with the highs and the lows, and I'll move the timer down to 0 minutes. And there I can let the genius run for less than a minute. I can also, if it's on 0 minutes, let it run for more than 30 minutes, which is nice to have that flexibility. So we're just gonna hit play once more. Again, 52% rectification, working with the highs and the lows. And the range is right in that 20% range. So that is good as well. So now I'm just going to back out of here. And I'm going to go to my main hold tray and I am going to clear all. Now I said I was going to show custom playlists briefly. I did go over it last week, but I just wanted to touch on it again. If you wanted to create a playlist, so for those of you, let's say, who don't have the bioterrain, if you want to create a playlist so that every time you can have this step 1 set up for you, you can go click on these 3 lines, which we call the navigation bars, or sometimes you'll hear one of us refer to it as go to your back office. You can click on those. And you can scroll down to where it says custom playlists and select that. Here you can see I have some playlists already set up, but I will add a new one. And we can call this the primer. And then we can say add items to playlist. Now, since we're creating a playlist for a library that we don't have, I will show you how to do that. The first thing is, since I recommend that you add everything from the bio field, you can just select and click that, and that will add everything to the bio field. If you wanted to look at it more specifically, you can see that I've added all the different sections from the bio field. And then again, if I were to click on it again, one of these again with the arrow, you can see that all those items have been selected. So there are quite a number of frequencies. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. That you can see that I've selected. The next thing that I would add to this for your primer, you can go to your amino acids and select that. You can go to your vitamins and select that. And you can go to your minerals and select your minerals. So now that can be like your primer. The other thing, though, that I want to show you and show everybody, which is new since the last update. So if you haven't updated, please do so. If you have custom libraries, you can now add items from your libraries and add it to that custom playlist. So what I'm going to add here is, let's see. Let's just go, it's alphabetical. I'm going to go to my Alaskan gemstones for stability and grounding. And I'm just going to select all of them. So again, if I were to click on these arrows, you can see that I've selected all of these. So they have now been added. I'm not going to add more than that to this custom playlist, but I can click save now. And now you can, oh gosh, that's a lot, but there are quite a lot in here. I wouldn't specifically recommend to do as many as 578 items in here, but we'll just do this as an example for today. So you can see that we have had this set up. You can see all the items that are in here. We can now back out. So do you want to save the changes? Yes. You can see that the primer has been added. Now I can go back again. And my main hold tray is empty. So now I can hit on this plus button. And now you can see that it says primer here. So the custom playlist is added. And you can see 578 items have been added. I would not recommend working with 578 items at once. So you might want to pare that back. If you see something happens, you could always X out, or you can just go back to the custom playlist and adjust it. Since we've already run this library, I'm not going to run it again. I think everybody can see how that works. If anybody has any questions regarding the setting up a custom playlist, please put it in the chat now and I can try to answer those questions. Otherwise, I'm just gonna clear this out and move along so we can work with some of the other areas here. So the next thing I will work on after I work on priming the libraries. Mitzi, great question. How many items are good to have in the playlist? I don't go more than 200, 250 items. Sometimes when I'm doing these demos, I get higher. I get more items in the tray. You can keep it lower. If you can keep it to 150, that's probably like ideal. But what happens often is when we do get it to the main hold tray, and then if you're only selecting highs or lows, you're only then working with a portion of that number that's in there. So kind of use your judgment. You don't want to overstimulate the body, so you don't want to put way too many. So just again, use your judgment on that. So the next thing that I like to work with is to go to the general overview. You get to the general overview by clicking on system overview. And what this does is it will, the Genius now populates all the line items. So it's out of all of its categories and libraries, but it puts every item within the Genius on the system overview page and all the custom libraries in numerical order. The reason why I think this is so important, and I recommend that everybody works with this, is because when you're doing energy work, anything can cause anything. So is something that shows up here that you wouldn't not normally think to go to could potentially be a root cause or an underlying cause, and will help clear the issue that you're trying to work with. I have over 2,000 libraries, so there are I probably have close to 100,000 line items in here. You're going to see a lot of reds and a lot at 777, because if you have 100,000 line items and only 777 slots, you're going to have a lot of duplications in there. So don't be alarmed or overwhelmed when you see so many reds. It's just that we're dealing with a lot of different frequencies here. So down on the bottom, it gives you the option now to select the top 50, which I will do. And then again, the bottom 50. And if we wanted to take a quick glimpse at what some of those bottom low range is, we can click on this 0 to 100 to see the reciprocal view. And some of what some of these areas are that are showing up on a more chronic basis. And you can see that those 100 items have been added in. The next thing I like to do is then remove all these libraries. And then it leaves you with all the items from just the system overview page. So now I like to add the top 50 and the bottom 50. And then, working with these 100 really give us a nice opportunity to work with a lot of the items that are on that main page. So we don't have to feel like that we're overlooking or not working with any of those items that are your reds and your blues. So now we can go to and hit the play button. And again, we can select begin and out. And I like to put the timer on 1 minute and select all, and I'll run all of these for 1 minute. Okay, so great. You had a 41% rectification. The alignment and flow are tight. They range from 39 to 45, so that's well within that 20%. We can also then reset. And now we can just select the lows and the highs and run those. I like to run those for like 30 seconds. And this is really great. 47% rectification, and you're going between 46 and 48% with only a 2% range in there. So that's awesome. I just want to answer Tammy's question. Great question. She's asking, do you select these same run times during your sessions or just for training purposes? So these are the run times I will start with any session. The only difference between now and the training session is if I wasn't getting, above 40 average percent rectification, I would run them longer or tweak them to try to get higher percent rectifications. But as long as I'm reaching them, I do start with the 1 minute for all, and then I break it down to 30 seconds to try to give the quick bursts for change. I don't generally run sessions for a long time unless I'm working with parasites, and then I use the runtime in sequence of 17 minutes. 17 minutes seems to be the kill time for parasites. So if you wanted to run it longer than 7, it would have to be multiples of 17 minutes if you wanted to run it longer. I don't generally run frequencies overnight unless it's like something that just occurred, like a new injury, you fell and sprained your ankle. Maybe you want to run some frequencies for that overnight to help you, or something that just happened. But more chronic, I tend to work with shorter run times and quicker to just try to wake up the body. So, or if you muscle test, you can muscle test and ask how long the session should run. But so I hope that helps, Tammy. I am going to back out of here. You got great numbers on this. So I am going to clear this main whole tray. And so now what I will do is we're going to run a virtual acupuncture session on you. So I'm going to work with that first, and then I'll run some pain frequencies for you. But we go right into the meridians. And we can look at the reds and the blues. So the first thing I would always do is work with the reds. When you're working with meridians, I mentioned before, reds tend to be over energy and blues tend to be under energy. So you want to work with where there's a lot of energy and kind of open up so the energy will flow to where there's less energy. So I would select all of these, and then we could also open it up and get to the specific point. So I will open up the spleen meridian and we can select. So what I do here when you're in the specific points of the meridian, you can add the reds and the you can add the reds and the blues if you want to follow moving the energy from where there's more energy to low energy. You could do that. I tend to add the reds and the blues here. And I also add the first point and the last point. And that kind of helps move the energy. So the first point of the spleen meridian is yellow. I will still add that. So we can just drag that down. And the last point, if you don't know how many points are in the meridian, there is the little graphics here to the side. So you can scroll up and you can see where all those points are. And on the spleen meridian, we have 21 is the last point there. So 21. And it's already been selected and added since it's a blue. So now you can go back out to your triple heater meridian. And again, I would do the same thing, reds and blues, and also make sure that you're getting the first point, which triple heater 1 is a blue. And the last point on the triple heater meridian is 23, I believe. So 22, 23 is green. And so I'm going to select that. So then we're going to do the same thing with the governing meridian. And we're going to add the reds and the blues. And again, we're going to search for the first point, which is already a blue. And the last point on the governing meridian is 28, I believe. And 28 is and it's a red. So those have already been selected. We can now then go to the liver meridian. Again, the reds and the blues. I also just want to point out that these little red circles with the eyes, if you press on that, the letter I should say, just gives you a little definition of what that point is for. In this case, liver 9 is pain in the lumbar sacrum area, pain in the lower abdomen. So this could point that has to do with your hips. Given that the sacrum is down low there. So I can't, did we add the liver? No. Okay, so I'm going to add the reds and the blues. And we're going to look for the first point is already added. And again, the last point in liver is 14, I believe. And that's a green. So I'm just going to add that in. And we can go back out, do the stomach meridian. We can add the reds and the blues. And again, we can look for that first point. Stomach 1 is green, so we will add that. And there are a lot of points on the stomach meridian. The last point is 45, I believe, and where is it? I see it. Did I pass it?
Yeah, it was there. Sorry.
That's okay. What, do we know what color it was? Why
It was
aren't I?
blue. It was a
Oh,
blue.
it was. There it is, the top one. Okay, great. So that's been added. Okay, so now we've added all the red meridians. So now we can go to and hit the progressive insight. And now I'm going to select 1 minute, select all, and hit play. So you responded again so well. Look at that, an average percent rectification of 74, and you're between only your harmony is at 75. So that's really amazing. So happy with that. Um, we could rescan this again, but for time, considering that we hit all and you responded so well, I'm not going to do that. I do want to go back though now, and I want to work with your large intestine, which is blue. Hopefully we circulated some of that over energy to some of the under energy points. So we can select the liver. And again, we're going to add the red and the blue. And then we're going to look for make sure we add the first point, which is here, and the liver. The last point is liver 20, and that's a blue, so it's added. So now I'm just going to go back and hit begin and out. And again, I'm going to run all of these for 1 minute. You had 54% rectification, and again, it's nice and tight within that 20%. I would like to run the pain frequencies for you so we can see if we can knock some of that pain in your hip out. But I just did want to mention, you could always, if you are inclined, you could go through, now that you've built with the reds and the blues here, you can go through each meridian and select the blues and the reds and the first and the last point for all of these other ones. I would actually, governing meridian and conception meridian are the two most important because they run the front and your back. So let's just add the reds and the blues on this one in the first point. So CV1 is a blue and CV24 is a yellow. Okay, and then I'm going to go to my libraries. And we can select pane. And here I'm just going to add in the reds and the blues. And we can run again. And we'll run all of these again for 1 minute. I haven't been running just the lows or the highs. And we've been having sorry. I forgot you can't hear me while it's chiming. What I said was, getting back to Tammy's question, I haven't run the highs or just the lows, like I usually do, because we're right at the top of the hour, but also because Nina has been responding really well and we've had really high percent rectifications that I didn't feel that we needed to. So anyway, the average percent rectification is 62. We go from 48. So here we are slightly above the 20%, but we're okay. Because of that, I would Oh, sorry, you can't hear me again. So I just rescanned. I'm trying to move fast because we're going over time a little bit. It was slightly over that 20%. So I rescanned and now I'll just select the lows and the highs and run that for 30 seconds. Okay, that's a little bit lower percent rectification, but we did run it. I do want to go back and look at your aura. In the meantime, while I'm getting back there, Nina, how are you feeling? Do you notice any shift or difference in your hip?
Oh, totally. I mean, I can feel as you were running the energies, I can feel the frequencies like in my digestive area. I can definitely feel it in my hip and it feels a lot better. Like I'm moving better. Yes.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's amazing. Yes. And I do need to run. I do want to check out my aura, but I do have something at 3 that I was supposed to be at right now.
Okay, so you go do that. I'm just your aura. Thank
Wow.
So that looks much better. So we're clearing that up. The old version,
Wow.
it's always tweaking and balancing, but anyway, I know you have to go. Thank you so much for volunteering. I'm glad
you.
you're better.
Thank you. Thank you. And I will see you shortly. But thank you so much. So yes.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Love it. It's awesome. Bye.
If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them, even though Nina had to leave. But are there? So anyway, oh, thank you, Karen. I'm glad you liked the session. And so that's all that we have today for you. Again, you can always email me at denise@insidehealthapps.com if you have any questions or anything you would like me to work on any of these Thursday lives. I'm happy to help. If there's something that you don't understand or you need me to go over, please email me. If you are watching this on the playback, you can email me at denise@insidehealthapps and send me your questions, or show up live. If you have any questions or want to know how to watch this live, email me at denise@insidehealthapps, and we can get you that information so that you can have your questions answered in real time. So it has been a pleasure working with Nina today, and thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Claire, for helping out in the chat room and answering your questions. Are you raising your hand?
Listen, listen, that was fantastic. Thank you. I just got the app yesterday, but I've already I did the trial a while ago, and I use a Quest 9, so I'm a bit familiar, but that was really helpful. I just wondered about the aura. What are you seeing? Are you reading the colors, what they mean, and what does the old one mean?
Oh, on the aura? So on the aura, it really gets in depth in the aura, so it's hard to really go into in a training in this hour. There is a class that is evergreen. If you want more information on it, again, you can email me at denise@insidehealthapps.com. But the first picture of the aura that looks like an egg, again, it goes, the more layers you have, the better. It shows your dimensionality on how far you're going out. You're looking for those bright, vibrant colors. The muddy, the gray overlay, those are indications of stagnant energy or negative energy or interference. And I would always recommend and suggest always let your spiritual protection library be your best friend. You want to work on that. Even if you have parasites, the spiritual protection library is an amazing library to work with in conjunction to it, because parasites are going to have their own entities, and that will show up in your aura. So that is all there. So definitely work with that. And then in the old version of the aura, there's I can go just to share it for a second to see if it shows up. So there are different things. Again, if you're not filling in all the four corners, it shows that you're not fully in your body and you need to ground. You may want to go out. Additional to the genius, walk barefoot on the grass. If there's a beach or sand or water, or be in nature, hug a tree to help ground you. This is also going to show you there could be programming lines if you're watching a lot of TV, or sometimes people who are playing a lot of video games will see some lines across the top. You could see some in here that can be programming lines, and just other lines of different types of programming. The colors are going to be the 7 colors of the chakra. You can look up what those color meanings. Again, the brighter, more vibrant, the more light in the color, the better. The darker the color means there's more darkness, and it might be, you might be seeing more of the negative attributes to that chakra or that specific color. So really working with the aura, it just takes a lot of practice. Sometimes people intuitively will be able to see a little bit more or see more depth into it just because of their intuitive abilities. That will be different for everybody, but I can tell you, the more you work with it, the more you can see. It just really takes practice. I hope that's helped.
Yeah, no, totally. I just need to get a lot of comparisons now so that I can, start to see. I've started emailing my own to myself so that I can kind of, observe changes with things that I'm doing.
Okay, great. And again, there is a aura class that Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and myself have. It should be up on Inside Health Apps. It has 8.5 hours of video and 4 libraries if you want to really, dive deeper into the auras.
Yes, I would like to.
You can definitely go there and email me if you can't find it or need more information about it, and I'm happy to send you that information. But anyway, thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I just saying thank you so much. That was so great.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So thank you, everybody. Again, I look forward to seeing you next week, and have a great week, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Denise. Cheers.
You're welcome. Thanks, Claire. Bye.